And this one is a revolution in the language that we use to talk about art. Art is too important and too essential to all of our well-being to be permanently relegated to the nebulous tyranny of the passive. We need to start talking about what art does and what art is, not what art says or what it represents. Because art that creates, not just describes significant change in the world, is all around us. It's everywhere. Now, I can only show you a few examples today, and they are all fairly new. They're arguably really visionary art. Why this focus on the latest as the greatest? Well, it's because, like scientists, visionary artists are focused on the future. Those who are engaged in radical new ideas, in new materials, in using new methodologies, are envisioning through images and symbols, signs, sight, speech, smell what is to come. Visionary art is just that. It's visionary. It anticipates the future, tells us how both our built and natural environments will change, tells us how technology is going to evolve, how our relationship with that technology is going to change, how we are going to see ourselves and relate to each other. So art can provide an essential framework for reinventing any system, political, economic, cultural, or behavioral. In May of 2008, a terrible earthquake hit the Sichuan province in China. Over 5,000 children, school children, were killed during and in the aftermath of that earthquake, largely due to the shoddy construction of elementary schools. The figure that I'm giving you was not released by the government. If you attempted to call government officials and ask them for a figure or for any other relevant details, you would be told this was none of your business, or I'm paraphrasing. Who found out that information? An artist, and his name is Ai Weiwei. He is respected the world over as a great artist and also as a very important architect, but he considers himself a human rights activist. He gathered a team of volunteers and went from house to house to gather details about the children who were killed in that earthquake. His blog was shut down, he was arrested numerous times, he was eventually severely beaten by the secret police, and when he arrived in Munich last October to install the exhibition that you see a portion of here at Munich's Haus der Kunst, he had to have emergency brain surgery. What you see here is the exhibition So Sorry. This is the facade of the Haus der Kunst. What this consists of is 9,000 backpacks, nylon children's backpacks. The calligraphy there reads, "She lived happily on this earth for 7 years," a quotation from one of the parents that he met. So, art is activism. In the United States, Mel Chin, an artist, is currently on a great cross-country journey gathering 300,000 of these $100. This is hand-drawn paper currency. The goal is to gather 300,000 of them and then present them to the United States Congress with a request to the Congress to allocate an equal amount to address the lethal levels of lead in New Orleans. Mel Chin, and this is typical of his practice, works with scientists, doctors, law enforcement officials to discover the root causes and actually the results of lethal lead poisoning in New Orleans. And he's shown the debilitating effects on children's health, on their ability to learn, and even on the high crime rate. After the $300,000, he says it will cover the cost of redressing this issue. He himself has developed a non-toxic process to remove the lead. Scientist, artist, innovator, all of them. Here in Stockholm, you have another, right now, a terrific example of an artist who is also a scientist and great innovator at Bonnier's Kunsthalle. What looks like and is a really tactile, immersive, fantastic art environment is actually the first physical model of a three-dimensional spider web. This is by artist Thomas Saraceno. It won't surprise you to learn that this man holds five scientific patents. He works again with a team of people. So visionary contemporary art doesn't happen, isn't the starving artist alone in the studio coming up with great ideas or painting beautiful naked women. It's working with people who are engaged with radical new ideas that change the world. Visionary artists are usually the first local artists of any era want to use new media. So it's not surprising that some of the most exciting new technologies are not being developed just in Silicon Valley or whatever the European equivalent is, forgive the American reference, but also in artist studios. This is a work by Dutch artist Dan Roosgaard. He writes a lot of the software and develops the hardware in his own interactive artworks, all of which involve some looking at how technology changes the way that we see reality and changes the way that we relate to each other, using technology to get people to connect. This project is called Dune 4.0. This was actually installed, this is a picture of it installed in a construction scaffold on Main Street in Louisville, Kentucky. This is a motion-activated techno-hybrid landscape. You walk in, you see these things growing up from the sides that look kind of like long grasses. And as you move, it begins to make sounds and to come to life. Now, this is not just a one-way kind of motion-activated, oh, that's fun artwork kind of thing. It responds to you. It responds directly to you, differently to me than it would to you. If you keep making the same sounds and actions over and over again, it will stop responding. You have a relationship to this technology, and it has a relationship to you. Roosgaard also has developed a number of other interesting projects. One I would mention is called Sustainable Dance Floor. It's a great, huge dance floor that lights up from underneath, green, red, blue, all these different colors. All of the energy required to run it is generated by the people dancing on top of it. So you see, visionary art actually can address other important issues, like sustainability and politics. Art is for change. Here in Stockholm, right now at the U.S. Embassy, art is intrinsic to the new American diplomacy. This fall, there was an exhibition of contemporary Swedish art. And last Friday, we opened Transparency and Transformations in Contemporary American Art. What you see here is an image of Alison Schatz's site-specific piece, torqued, stretched, and flattened for the residents in Stockholm. Now, instead of showcasing kind of an established legacy, mythologized of American art, what is presented is art that addresses new shifts in science, technology, history, and culture. This is, here, visionary art is diplomacy. In 2003, the Albanian artist Henri Sala collaborated with Edi Rama, who was then the mayor of Tirana, the capital of Albania. Edi Rama had been, interestingly, an art student, a friend of Henri Sala's, and then was named Minister of Culture before he became mayor of Albania. As I'm sure many of you know, because you have a much better background in politics than I do, Albania was one of the last countries to shed totalitarian communism. In the 1990s, began to become a democracy. What the mayor discovered was that people were uncomfortable with the practices of democracy, what it meant to participate. And the way that he did it was to create this public art project, whereby he asked the citizens of Tirana, say, our city is really poor and it looks really bad and we're all kind of sad about it, so paint the buildings, paint your houses, any color you want, but you have to get together and you have to decide. And that's what it means to be a city of choice. If art can introduce the practice of democracy in Tirana, imagine what it can do in the rest of the world if we allow it. Visionary contemporary art, when we embrace with it, it's like taking out an insurance policy against a fear of the future. Because if we allow art to be the mediator and the connector, then we bond over what's new. New art is new ideas, and that means people are a lot less afraid of the future and all the changes that it holds. It means that we welcome it, and we welcome change, and we participate in creating greater change in the world we share. So, art is not just for teaching, or entertaining, or decorating. Art is technology, art is engagement, art is daily life for all of us. Art